Uh, wah, wah, wah.
Fall again.
It was.
All right. Well, I guess let's do another episode of.
Let's do this. Oh, you even got the shirt on. I just noticed that you're wearing the one-up shirt. That's.
How would you just notice this? Come
I don't
on.
know, man. I'm tired.
That makes two of us.
That makes two of us.
But we're gonna do it.
We're gonna do this. Ready. 1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to an episode of One Up
To nerd.
to Nerd.
I could have gone. I could have gone longer with that, and maybe to nerd.
There we go. I like the space sound effect to go with our billionaires in space. Hey. You do it. You have the sound effect.
That was way better than anything in space.
That's
weird.
awesome. That hey, a little weird's okay. My name is Frankie,
and I'm Kevin,
and that's Kevin. And you're listening to One Up to Nerd, watching One Up to Nerd, and I am really excited to record. It's been Kevin, what was the last episode we did?
I don't know. It's been a handful of months. We've been busy doing things and living life, and I don't know, nerding out.
We have been busy doing things indeed. But I don't know. I have this sort of, me personally, I have a little bit of this like renewed nerd vigor in me that's just sort of like sprung up. And I'm excited to annoy you with nerd stuff and try and get some content put out. Because there is some fun things out there to talk about,
There's been so much cool stuff. I feel like there's a fresh stream of good content, and Disney Plus has not disappointed, which I will sort of restate my position. I'm really enjoying Disney Plus, especially now that we've got Ken's and she's almost 2. And
wow.
We've got all the Disney Pixar shows, and she's really enjoying them. Some of the series on there are pretty good, and then there's just all the Marvel and Star Wars content, which I don't know. Each release has gotten better, right? We just finished Loki, right? Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished. I'm all caught up on everything.
Yeah,
which
I haven't gotten caught up on Bad Batch. I actually enjoyed that. But we haven't sort of binged that in the same way that we were binging Loki and Falcon and Wanda. But
right.
It's I think where I got with that is I wanted to go back and watch the Clone Wars, right? Okay. And I haven't done that, which is a big undertaking. So I think that's
Clone Wars is dense. Clone Wars is dense. You're talking about
it's 8 seasons?
7.
7.
And the first couple 2 to 3 are kind of hard for me. I have to muscle through them to be in it, and it really takes a slightly different approach in the beginning. It definitely kind of puts you in some of the political sphere of the Star Wars universe, and you're trying and it takes a minute to kind of warm up to me, but if you stick through it, it is good stuff.
There's a lot of really good action in that first season, right? It kicks off with a bang. I don't think I've gotten past the first season, but
that first whole part of is like Anakin getting Ahsoka as a Padawan, and that's an interesting beginning to the series. And again, it sets up Ahsoka, and Ahsoka's just fucking badass. So yeah. Well, okay, let's start with.
So let's rank. Oh, go ahead. Where do you want to start?
No. Well, I want to start with Marvel. So let's start with Marvel.
Yeah.
So
haven't seen Black Widow though. So we don't have Premiere, and that's like I don't know how much more money that I'm not interested in spending on Disney Plus, even though I'm really enjoying it. I could wait another 4 months to see Black Widow.
Go ahead and wait.
Oh, dang it.
What?
You're saying it wasn't that good?
No, it was good. It was really good.
Okay.
The actress, I'm blanking on her name. Her last name is Pugh. P-U-G-H.
Yeah, I've
she
seen
is
her. I
sort of.
saw her in Midsummer.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a horror film.
I don't watch much horror.
Yeah,
I scream. I
Christy,
cry.
Christy loves it.
But she plays the role of Yelena, who is Natasha's sister, and she takes up the role of sort of your Black Widow, right? Your main widow. And that's kind of sort of a little bit of the theme of what we're seeing, you know, between like Falcon and Winter Soldier and now Black Widow. You have these characters sort of like who's taking over the mantle of some of these iconic characters that we've been following over the last 12 years, right? And Yelena is awesome. She's so funny and fantastic, and I enjoyed her character 1000%. I really enjoyed Black Widow. The action was good. It felt like just a solid, good action flick. It felt like Winter Soldier. It felt like Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
You know, that's kind of how I would put it, like
in that kind of, I mean, it's sort of a duo hero film, right?
Right. You know, and gosh, you know, Marvel again played up some, like, you know, female power, because, you know, and if you look at Falcon and Winter Soldier too, you know, really showcasing the Dora Milaje, and then now in Black Widow, the widows, and that the network of widows around the world, you know, it's significant.
Which we didn't really get a sense of in any of the films, right?
No.
She was not a heavy focus. Her backstory, her origin, her, you know, resources, you know, that wasn't a part of the last, you know, decade plus of films. How long is it? It's been 14 years. What was it? Iron Man was 07.
I think it was 10 years in 08 or in 2018. So I think we're looking at like 11.
Roughly. Yeah.
Or 13.
13.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, you know, I've enjoyed the character building in all of these series, and I guess I'm really looking forward to Widow now.
Yeah, you'll enjoy Widow for sure. The actor who plays Hopper in Stranger Things, he also played who is the Red Devil character?
Red Skull?
Not Red Skull. It's not a Marvel IP. Well, anyways, the guy who plays Hopper, the sheriff in Stranger Things, he plays the role of the Red Guardian, and sort of like you're the Russian super soldier who he's sort of like he talks about how he meets up with Captain America and all this stuff like that, and then like the timeline's not right, and even he gets called out on it, and it's really funny, and the you know like they poke fun at so many. I love how Marvel pokes fun at themselves. Like his I don't want to give too much away.
Please don't. Okay, stop.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop.
You got a good cliffhanger working right there.
I'm gonna stop right now. Okay, so you're gonna go watch it. Maybe we'll do a follow up on after you see it in a few months.
Yeah,
if whatever.
Definitely.
Okay, so but then you did watch Loki.
Yeah. We watched it all. I think we watched it every night that it came out, except for when we were visiting my mom in Santa Barbara. And I don't know, just loved it. It was such a great, I don't know, just like original piece of world building that I don't feel like we've had any insight into this unique sort of you know, the TVA, the what were they called? The timekeepers.
Time variance, or no, the
timekeepers, and then the variance, time variance authority, I think is what it was called, right?
Authority.
They're, you know, they're the spoilers ahead, right? We're
a spoiler show. We spoil it all.
You know, it was just really interesting how they, I think, visually captured interdimensional travel in this way, like the technology, this sort of, you know, culture of you know, what turns out to be variants, right? Like of just kidnapped variants. It was a really well done show that made me feel like it was a movie quality series, right?
Yeah.
Even though, it was noticeably lower production value in certain areas, which, like, okay, I
Lower
can forgive
than
the movies, right? Like,
the
not
cinema.
every
Yeah.
single frame is,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know, created with all the luxury that the Marvel films have, but it met that bar, right? It was just, I don't know, the acting, Tom Hiddleston, right? I read something on him, or a quote that he gave. He was like, "I'll play this character forever," and I
I
was
saw the
like,
same thing.
"Please,
Yeah.
please."
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Loved it.
And all of the actors they got to play the other Lokis were, I don't know, like equally
Clever.
fun, and, like, just really nailed the character and I don't know, ego, right, of Loki. I don't know. I was constantly asking questions throughout the series.
It was a really awesome series, and one of the parts that I really held on to, and I think for the character in the moment was a very significant moment, was when first goes to the TVA. He opens up the drawer and all the Infinity Stones are in there, and he's like, "Is this really the center of time in the universe and everything like that?"
Yeah.
And I just was. And Owen Wilson was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
He was sort of the surprise, awesome sort of character in this show. And I was so, thankful for what he contributed to it.
Yeah.
You have in the end, you had a Richard E. Grant who plays like the old Loki, right? In that original comic suit. And I saw something that said, man, I wish we got to see more Richard E. Grant, because he was fantastic.
Yeah.
He kind of went out. He kind of was short-lived, but boy, it was impactful.
It was.
And he was great. He added a quirkiness to the character that was also sentimental, and he had like that. He had like that a wonderful moment in the sun right there as the sun sets. He's sort of holding off Goliath with that projection, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. This is good storytelling. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good, and I think there's something interesting about seeing that retro vintage superhero costume, but in the CG world that we live in today, which is like they can make it 10x what it was when it was being done back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Like,
yeah.
And I don't know, there was something really fantastic about that being captured, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a sort of trend or a kickoff of retro. Those kinds of like retro vintage superheroes.
I'm down for it,
and I feel like it started with Watchmen. If you remember the movie Watchmen, they really nailed some of that vintage in the early part of that movie. Some of that vintage superhero, and I guess even the series, though, HBO Watchmen series when it came out. But this was awesome. It was the Infinity Stone moment where it's just like, we've got all of these things because there's infinite timelines, and there's like nothing special about it, but we are the authority. And then I don't know where they took it. And I guess, like, in my head, I'm sort of trying to make sense of this relative to where they're going to go next, right? Do you know how they're going to connect Loki into the rest of the cinematic universe?
Well, no, I mean, the end, bringing in Kang the Conqueror, because right, he who remains, that actor, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But he did have a breakout role in some other show that I haven't watched. Anyways, what we see and what we're introduced to is Kang the Conqueror. Kang the Conqueror is our next big baddie. He's our next big Thanos.
Got it.
And I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's very kind of wild to think that they sort of introduced our new Thanos in the TV universe, and it'll be he'll be shown through. He's the main villain in the next Ant-Man movie, in the Quantumanica or whatever it is called.
Okay.
So what's
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
What I think
you're still there. I thought you were frozen.
I was trying to like really get my thought right. What I think is such a big bold move that only Kevin Feige can pull off, and that is making the cinema, the MCU, what we see on screen work with what's in TV and back and forth, and making it all cohesive and having continuity. And it's freaking incredible to watch this man pull behind the curtain, pull the strings of the narrative being told over the last 11, 12 years and beyond. Because it's like, now we got Kang the Conqueror, who's going to be our main villain in Ant-Man, who you have the multiverse of madness coming out that's going to be sort of the main, that's the name of the next Doctor Strange movie. With Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, you're going to have multiple Spider-Man, because in the next Spider-Man movie, we confirm we got Garfield and Toby. It's like keeping it all together is wild, right? And and in the end of Loki, we really saw like the complete destruction of the sacred timeline, right?
Right.
Anything is possible now. Fucking anything is possible. You can have Michael B. Jordan be fucking Black Panther.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm down. I want to see Michael B. Jordan, because I was even thinking about this. Like, why not? Bring it on, dude. Let's that the
idea of the What If series? Isn't that what the idea that's supposed to be? Is like they're gonna go like do one-off. It's like their episodic take on all this stuff. Like now that we have the framing of the multiverse and the timelines and like that anything is possible, they're gonna do this What If show and give us like interesting one-off hits on that.
So yeah, What If is an animated show. Yeah, and I think for one specific one-off, it's like, what if Yondo had abducted T'Challa? Like, I think it goes a little bit beyond in that What If show. I think it goes a little bit beyond
having an alligator Loki. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, like in a multiverse, you could have the cousin be Black Panther, right? It's like it's close enough where like the time, like, but what if is like, what if Gamora had all the fucking Infinity Stones.
Right. Like what would have happened and how would that have gone? Yeah.
Right. I watched a video earlier today that was like comparing Thanos to Kang and why we should be more scared of Kang. And it's like Thanos is always the guy in the story, and his mission is always sort of to attain those Infinity Stones and rule the universe in one timeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kang the Conqueror is the conqueror of worlds through the multiverse. And so he poses this threat to every universe in every world,
every timeline.
And it's like, how do you fuck with that? How do you deal with someone who has,
I mean, there's going to be ever growing powers, right? Like,
right. And it's always like, there's always a version of Kang somewhere in the timeline, always,
Yeah.
And I don't have enough comic backstory to know, like, I wish I did, like, in my head, like, oh, this is how they dealt with him there. This is how they dealt with, but I don't. But I think it's really interesting. I think it's really going to be awesome to see how it all unfolds. And, I think the next, in terms of cinema between now and the end of the year, we have Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
We got Shang-Chi, which Shang-Chi looks sick. I am stoked for Shang-Chi. I can't remember if there's another one. I think there is.
You already mentioned Doctor Strange. there's going to be the whatever the next sort of Captain America movie is, right? That's going to be coming now after Winter Soldier or Falcon, and then I don't know what. There's like 20 new movies. I can't remember them all. Come on.
Well, okay, so
we just know that like twice a quarter for the next 10 years, we're gonna have awesome Marvel content.
There's Marvel content forever. God bless.
And that's you were talking about like the production of the narratives or the sort of world and like how they're stringing it all together. They're designing a game narrative, right? Like that's an MMO game narrative that takes place across like multiple worlds and dimensions and characters, and like they're able to put massive money into building that out in a way that is it's really interesting. I'm excited. It hasn't been done, right? Like we get like
it's unprecedented. Everything they do is unprecedented.
Yeah, at this point, right?
At this
everything.
And
now it's now they're tried to pull it over to Star Wars in maybe a sort of false start way, but I think they're sort of hit the reset with Mando and some of the way that they're launching it now, right?
Yeah. Well, you have David Filoni, who's now been promoted to executive creative director. And I think that's just basically like get the fuck out, Kathleen. Just you know what? You're an awesome businesswoman. You do your job. Let us do ours. Let me tell the story. You run the company. Cool. And that's what I think is, and that happened, right? So yeah, because David Filoni was promoted to the new role as creative executive director. So he is going to be your storyteller. He is going to, hopefully, I think that the difference is between, in terms of leadership, Kevin Feige is the Kathleen and the David. In Star Wars, you got Kathleen, you got David, and then you got Luke, you got George, who George apparently has a really strong voice in the story that's being told with Bad Batch. And I think it's really, did you get to the big reveal about Omega?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, I don't want to give it away because it is a really big, significant reveal. What like her?
Okay.
I didn't guess it. I was very off.
Okay.
I was like, she's a Palpatine, this and that. Like she's gonna not wrong. But I tell you what, I really like the Bad Batch so far. It feels very reminiscent to the beginning of Rebels. And, Star Wars does a lot of telling a story from the eyes of the mentor and who's being mentored, right? You always have you have a Obi-Wan and Anakin. You have an Obi-Wan and Luke. You have Anakin and Ahsoka. You have
they're the pairs.
Canon and Ezra, and I think what you're seeing now is Omega and Hunter and Omega, and that's great. I think it's sort of right on track, and I think it'll really blossom into something else. Mando and Grogu. Another example. So
relationships are the sort of center of these films, right? The dynamics of interpersonal relationships and the sort
more
of
so
trauma,
than Marvel.
The trauma.
I definitely think it's more so. It's definitely more prevalent. It's definitely more like
Marvel is switching.
within the
Marvel's
groundwork.
Switching. Right, like Marvel going into a series, right, is changing it up. They're adding more depth to their characters. They're sort of giving you the duos, right? Falcon, Winter Soldier. You just sort of talked about it with Black Widow, right? Like, and then in Loki, it was Loki and Owen Wilson. Like Wanda, it was Wanda and Vision. But prior to this, like everything in the MCU had been sort of narrative driven within like some greater, I guess with the exception of Iron Man. But with the exception of the first Iron Man movies, and I think even the first movie of each hero's sort of thread, right, was their origin story, and it was a very significant focus on that individual hero. And then it became narrative driven when they started getting into the Avengers and whatnot. I don't know. It's really exciting to see where they're going to take this media and how it's going to progress. I know they have a lot of game content out there for the Marvel games or sort of the Marvel universe, but I think with the exception of Spider-Man, they've I don't know, they've left me wanting.
I'd agree. I think Star Wars, same thing with Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, if it was Fallen Order.
Fallen Order was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, but like that's it. I mean, EA had
dropped the ball.
Had the Star Wars, you know.
Battlefront 2 didn't do too bad.
It was rough on launch, you know.
Yeah.
But they had the license. They had the license for a decade.
Yeah. They shut down the 2 projects or whatever it was. I think one was supposed to be the MMO and
you know how many other projects we never heard about or never were released, or how many people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And apparently there is a sort of they're trying to bring back some of the older projects with who I think is it Ubisoft? No.
Yeah.
Somebody's working on a big one right now.
Well, EA is through Respawn because they did Fallen Order, right? They're doing more Star Wars properties, I believe.
Somebody's doing an open world. And I don't think it's Ubisoft, and I don't think it's Respawn. And who did Witcher?
CD Projekt Red. Yeah, Ubisoft's making an open world Star Wars game.
Okay, then it is Ubisoft.
It's the studio behind the Division.
Yeah. So I think that's it. What's that noise for? Is that like
Division?
Is that like reluctancy?
Division was good.
Division 1 or Division 2?
2. But like the challenge with those games is like their open world progression in pretty fun ways. The sort of beginning part of the Division 2 was a lot of fun. Like the story, the sort of initial story through like level whatever the max level is, where they want you to go in and basically do open world PvP and maybe like hyper repetitive PvE content. But I'll give it a shot. Star Wars. It's gotta be something interesting.
Yeah. So going back to Bad Batch for a second, what I'll say though, because there's nothing in relation to Omega and the mystery behind her, I will say that it's very curious that the next IP from Star Wars is Book of Boba Fett. It's very curious.
Why?
You have to watch Bad Batch.
Okay. I'll watch it.
I mean, how far in Bad Batch are you? I thought you said you've at least watched a couple episodes.
I think we watched 3, but
if by 3 you've probably at least have seen Fennec, right?
But I'm not like, I don't have the recall of it, right? I'll have to go back and refresh. It was months ago.
Remember Fennec, she's the assassin who we saw in Mando,
right?
Played by the Asian actress. Can't remember her name. She's like 70. It looks like she's 35. It's fucking crazy. She's been like in so many projects. I think she just got a star on the Hall of Walk of Fame. Star on the Walk of Fame.
Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Hollywood Walk of Fame. But anyways, like she doesn't age at all. It's fucking magical. But Fennec is in Bad Batch, and she's in Mando and in Book of Boba Fett. Remember at the end of Mando, she sort of like takes the right side. And there's like, watch Bad Batch.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Okay. Well, we're talking about it. So
no, I know.
All right. Well, let's see. We have what else do we need to talk about? Billionaires in space? Is that worth?
Billionaires in space.
So Bezos went to space. and what's the other guy from Virgin?
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson.
Yeah.
So both these guys are to space. Now, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like that they went to space, right? For the fact that they're like, these guys are billionaires going to space, and how certain people feel about people with that kind of wealth and etc. That aside, okay. And I'm not necessarily in disagreement with some of those criticisms, but I still think it's fucking cool. I still think
it's a massive human accomplishment, right?
It's a massive human accomplishment, where regardless of whether you what spectrum you fall on on the previous mention, but you know,
there's a perspective of appreciation for how massive a human accomplishment it is, but and like how, I mean, it's fucking cool, right?
It's like, cool, right?
And you know, I think my perspective on it is we are already a spacefaring species, planet. You know, we are a planet, and we are on a planet that is hurtling through space.
We're on a rock
at difficult to perceive, you know, speeds and you know, with gravity and all kinds of crazy shit that's already happening. And this is getting us sort of onto other planets and sort of becoming more capable in our environment, our larger universal environment, right? This sort of depths of space, which I think, you know, being a sci-fi nerd is such a cool, I'm always going to be interested in it.
Right.
You know,
if you're a nerd and you don't think it's cool, are you really a nerd, right? It's like,
you know, we all have our nerddom, right? We can nerd out on different things.
True.
But yeah, you know, there's something still just so special about SpaceX's progress in this space. Hey, there's too many spaces. That I think Branson's objective, you know, he's just trying to do this commercial, you know, like space tourism thing, right? Like let's get people up to space, let's let them feel, you know, 0G for however long and come back down, right? Like he basically what he just did was his sales pitch. Whereas like Bezos's thing today, I watched it or some of it, I did the replay or whatever, and I don't know, it just was like, it was so much less, I don't know, significant of a thing than what those two companies have already done. But still pretty neat, right? Like, it's still a big accomplishment.
Can you say that one more time? You thought what Bezos did was less significant?
Yeah, than what SpaceX has done, and like what Branson did, you know, with or what he's trying to do for his business, right? Like, I forget Branson, Virgin Galactic, right? They're just doing space tourism. They're sending people up, exactly what they did in that demo, or the you know, him launching into space. They're going up, they're doing the little flip loop-de-doo thing, people are getting out, they're floating around, and then they're coming back down. Like, that's what they're selling.
And it's like, it's
which
still
is awesome.
like a plane, right?
It's a spaceship that they're taking up on a plane, right?
But how does it but when it launches like a normal plane would launch.
It drops out of a plane that's carrying it up into the upper atmosphere. So there's two planes. There's the mothership, is what they call it, that takes the little tiny ship up into the upper atmosphere, and then when it gets high enough, the spaceship drops down and turns on its boosters and then goes into space. Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
that is definitely a little bit more cooler.
Yeah, it's unique, right? It's
just like
a
rocket
flavor
of, you know. You know, it is funny. And I think you sort of were illustrating this or painting a picture, like where you have Branson is doing it for the commercial, you know, and doing it for his business. And it just definitely does sound like it's just kind of like a plane experience that is a little 0G, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like Elon, who is sort of like wants to like transcend humankind through space exploration and like put people on different planets and like be a multi-planetary civilization. And then you have Elon, or then you have Bezos, who's like, I'm just going to do something in between.
I mean, his long-term plans are similar to Elon's, I think, where they're, trying to do stuff on the moon and, XYZ, but they're just, they're playing second fiddle. So it's,
definitely,
it's still a big personal milestone for Bezos,
totally
I'm sure,
is.
Going to space with his brother, like, strapped to the top of this, phallic shaped rocket.
It was so phallic, right? I mean, no one looked at that design and went, guys, hold on. We're going to ride a penis up into space. Let's be real here. What the fuck? Come on.
Yeah. But I think it's so commonplace. Like that was what I took from the launch today, is like, I think in our lifetime, space travel has become commonplace. It's like, it's routine.
It doesn't feel that way to me.
I don't know. I've been following the SpaceX stuff really closely, like, I don't know, for the last decade, and seeing their progression and how long it's taken them to get where they're at today, which is that they turn around like a reused rocket in a weekend and send it back up for the next launch. And then cool. now they've sent people up to space. They've delivered them to the space station. They're getting the BFG ready for Mars. Like,
I think for me, it's like we've been sending people up into space. We've been doing the space station stuff. We've been, putting satellites into orbit. We've been doing that for, 70
We've been seeing people in space for, a long time.
Last time we saw someone on the moon, though. You know what I mean? When was the last time we broke? When was the last time we went out of Earth's orbit or out of Earth's orbit? Like, it hasn't happened. It needs to, and I think that for me,
a human,
sure.
Yeah.
That for me, I think, is when it's really gonna get spicy.
We're so close. Like, we're
close.
This is gonna be next 3 years, 2 years.
It's wild to think that the last, with all the advancements in human technology, that the last time we went to the moon was however many years ago. Was it back in the 60s? I mean, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but there's so many out there to suggest why that has been, that are not necessarily only that we didn't actually go. There's other theories. There's other, stuff. And so, it's like,
I have no idea what any of those would be, but I think it's just, if you think about our, society as a system, right? Like, there could have been any number of factors that resulted in us not going to back. Like, we didn't have the technology to make it cost effective enough to, extract any value out of the moon and make it be a thing that was, there's sort of a what?
It was what we saw on the dark side of the moon.
Oh, geez.
Bring it on. How disappointing was that fucking June UFO report, by the way, from Congress?
I didn't even make the headlines.
I don't even want to go into it. I was
but
so bummed. Hold on. You know what? I want to break for a half second to talk about this because it's been on my mind. I was talking about this with Trevor, and I was saying to him, and we were sharing UFO content every fucking day, starting in late or early April. I was gonna say late March, probably early April, all May, and it was like, the UFOs are fucking coming. The UFOs are fucking coming. Look at this. Look at these leaks. Look at these leaked videos. And I mean, I'm sure you saw them, the triangular ones that were leaked, that were like, I was ready for something more than what they gave us in the report. Like, the report literally told us everything we already fucking knew. And that was just so discouraging. Yeah. And what really is pissing me off, and and I'm in this, my conspiracy brain is there's been nothing about it since the report dropped. Nothing. Like, the amount of UFO content since the last week of June has dropped off the fucking planet. There's nothing. It's like the whole world just went black on UFO. Like it was like, oh, it's open. It's, it's not stigma to talk about anymore in the media. Congress is going to release this report, and it was like,
that's what you got to have something.
And
like,
all of a sudden,
if you don't have anything, it doesn't matter.
Just fucking nothing. And I'm not buying it. I'm not.
Oh, come on. Let's not get into your conspiracy theories.
I'm not. It just seems like there's got to be. It's just very odd that it all of a sudden went absolute dark on UFO content when it was coming out like every week something new.
You just got to find the sources of it. It's still out there. It's just not making the mainstream media headlines because it's what I think what you saw of that report was what everybody else saw, and it's like, okay, this is not something you can report on. Like how much more news can you get out of that?
And that was what's and one of the annoying things too is like it's like, well, we're gonna give you what is unclassified. Okay, dickhead.
Which was nothing.
What's unclassified? What is classified? Like who? Like
it could be anything.
God, you know what? I'm getting all worked up.
Okay.
Fuck that UFO report.
But hey, we might see it when we go to Mars, right?
You know what? It saddens me, to be honest with you, because I just feel like there's so much I think there's a lot that we don't know.
Go watch. I think on Apple Plus, there's like it's some sort of I don't know, creative docuseries that explores what life would look like on other planets. Have you seen that one? It goes through all the statistical analysis of, is there life out there beyond the planet? And it's like, most definitely yes. And here is what those species could look like based on, what we know about these. They sort of use real planets that they've identified that are sort of similar to Earth in positioning relative to their star. And they say like, well, this one's really unique because it's showing sort of more blank in the atmosphere. And this one's showing, more blank in wherever. And then it's like, and because it's like this close to their sun and like this close to other planets, like, there's different, environmental factors at play, and it's going to result in all these really cool, like characteristics, like biological characteristics of life. Totally. And it does a really, I got to find the name of it. I think fiery something. I don't know. I got to find
Send me the link.
But that might scratch your itch for a while.
I'm sure it will. And I went down quite the rabbit hole back in like early or late, like May. I was watching like all kinds of things, and I was watching about. I was not researching, but like stuff that was on my feed was like Russian special ops like encounters with UFOs and things. Like it was getting into like what other countries have seen, experienced, and things like that. And I was like, this shit's wild. Like, but in my head, I think to myself like, oh yeah, we're ready. The human race is ready. I think we're totally capable of, accepting such news magnitude of, other civilizations, races from other planets traveling us at, traveling to our world, operating with complete impunity in our airspace and doing all these things. Like, yeah. Meanwhile, we can't even fucking keep toilet paper on the shelves when we have a really bad case. Think about it. Think how we lost our minds a year ago, right? We lost our minds. Now add UFOs to the mix. Like, am I really off base here though?
I'm sure you're not. For sort of keeping this thread of the conversation shorter rather than longer. No, that would be. I mean, I don't know. I think society is more prepared for that to happen than not. But sort of what happens geopolitically is, of course, it's roulette or Russian roulette, right? It's just like
toilet paper had nothing to do with politics. You know what I mean? It was hysteria. Go out and we need toilet paper.
I mean, yeah, there would be a level of hysteria that would ensue socially if that were to happen, which I think would be on another level than what we experienced before. But we got through it.
We got through
figured it out. We figured it out. I mean, more or less. Some of us didn't. Rest in peace.
Yes, it was definitely.
I don't know. That's a heavier conversation than I was expecting it to get to.
We don't need to overthink it.
Yeah,
because we certainly can. We could. I mean, let's just easily just say like I want to believe that the human race is capable of such a something as big as like accepting the existence of other species.
That's what I think. I think today more people accept the belief of the possibility of the existence of other species, right? And like I think it'll just be interesting to see how we as a species respond. And that was that geopolitical part of that is like, like we're gonna have to lean into our existing alliances, and who knows, how those respond to that kind of threat, right? It's a potentially existential threat, depending on how we, how alien life is revealed to us.
We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that goes.
I think I want to believe. I'd imagine within our lifetime, Kevin, I think we'll make first contact in our lifetime. I mean, we're close. I mean, I feel like we're close enough already. If we haven't made it, I have to want to. I just feel like
I wouldn't bet against you.
I feel like it's more probable than not, right? If we haven't already made first contact and we haven't fucking.
I mean, we've been on a streak in the last 2 decades alone, and I think it's an exponential increase in sort of rate of discovery and technology. I don't know, complexity, right? You think about how far we've come in terms of computers and microprocessors, and like now we've got machine learning and are sort of on the verge of this quantum technologies, but like. Some of those things aren't going to come online for another 5 decades, right? 7 decades, even though we're discovering them now. So,
but think how much more how think how it
exactly
even more so.
Yeah,
it's like it's projected 70 years from now, but in 10 years from now, that projection is going to move down because we're exponentially moving. We're climbing this ladder, and it's. Anyways, I don't know.
I feel like it's a really exciting time to be alive. For better, for worse. It's a very exciting time to be alive. I guess we've where are we at in topic and time?
You know what? Does your recording have a time on it? Mine does not.
I'm at 47.
Okay, well, do you want to?
We got a couple of games. You've been doing some City of Mist continued story.
Yeah, played last night.
Yeah,
I had like months and months ago. I started up the scenario that followed the Oasis City Opera House, right? Mm-hmm. And I meant to ask you. Did Sebastian take the laptop? I have to even go back and watch the video recap, but there was a laptop that I think you took. But anyways, you made me think about that. I mean, I think so. I think you did take the laptop, which is going to present a problem for me now as I tell this next story. But I might have to play the roles.
Do retcon it.
Character.
Reset.
Yeah, no, I'm so good at retconning. I retcon my shit all the time. But I'm sort of telling the next chapter after the Oasis City, the Opera House, right, where there was an attempted sort of assassinate or murder on the Opera House director, Florence, and there was a fire, there were assassins, there were our main villain ended up being this giant fucking basilisk. It was awesome. It's fucking awesome. And so
you did a great job.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the sort of arc that you and the sort of the level of detail that you put into it.
Thank you. So then the next chapter, I'm calling it funeral for a friend. And at the end of the opera house scene, Garmon Chow dies. So the next sort of part of the story is going to lead to his funeral, without giving too much away. And I have Danica, who's the mortician. So right now we played part 2 of the scenario last night. She just basically did a autopsy on Garmon Chow's body. You have Rhett, who's just always a pain in the ass, bull in a china closet rift with the mythos of Gambit. And he rolled miraculously to have the sort of lead detective give him the case file. So he's now helping him in on the investigation, figuring out what all happened at the opera house. Unfortunately, I have another character. Her name is Liz, played by Caitlin, and Caitlin is sort of she's been on vacation, so she wasn't able to play with us last night. But she sort of like she's a detective, and so a news reporter. So she was kind of getting some leads and doing some things, and hopefully she'll come back and sort of finish out the scenario with us. But I'm really stoked to, I think, and I started our show tonight saying like I have this sort of renewed vigor, and part of that vigor is getting back to City of Mist and wanting to play some more, and doing it on a smaller format, like 2 people, 3 people. Because
I can't. That was such a massive format. You really took a heavy lift there with that.
I felt bad.
It was like 12 of us.
Yeah, there were like 12. And I did a massive scenario, and it took like 6 1 to 2 hour sessions to kind of get all the way through it. But I was really happy with the product in the end. And but now that I can do smaller sessions, then I can really dive into the smaller micro interactions and encounters. And like I had there's a character that I introduced last night, and his name is Bishop, and he works for Madame Chow as sort of her, I don't want to say, but anyways, he goes and visits Danica at the morgue as she is performing the autopsy on Garmon Chow, and he's looking for the laptop and for Madame Chow. And there was just like this one-on-one dialogue between Bishop and Danica, and he's a sly dude, and he knows it. And Danica's like has her hands in the body of Garmon Chow, and he's like, you know what, can I go look at the case file? And she's like, excuse me. He's like, no, you know what, don't even bother, I'm gonna go look at it. And she's like, oh really? Well, I'm gonna call the lead detective, Kimberly Cricket. And he's like, oh yeah, tell Kimberly I say hello. And you could just tell Jeremy was like, well, fuck. Okay. Well, yeah, you know what? You go ahead and look at this case file. There's nothing in there. And he's like, okay. And there was like this just tension between them, and and it's gonna be an interesting scenario. So I'm excited to finish that out, and I want to going to get Sebastian back into Oasis, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I can't wait.
So you wrote on Steam Deck on here.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting sort of platform level tidbits in the news lately. There's the Valve Steam Deck, which is their sort of PC handheld gaming PC handheld. Which that space has predominantly been Nintendo has owned that space for the last several decades. A couple of fits and spurts from Sony with I forget what the PlayStation was called. They had their sort of handheld device, but it sort of went by the wayside. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. There's I think there's a lot of games that play really naturally in handheld format, and a lot of developers are already creating multi-platform, cross-platform experiences where they're designing for console, right, which is having a controller. And the Steam Deck as a sort of piece of hardware that you would design specifically for as a developer opens up a lot of options, as opposed to just being like making something generically for PC. Like having a specific target, and having a static audience really makes a compelling business case for studios. So I'm really excited to see what will come out of there. And then sadly, or I guess I'm sad about it, Nintendo announced they're doing a new Switch update, or an update to the Switch, but they're only updating with an OLED. So I guess they're not updating or changing the hardware at all, except for the screen, which is going to be high resolution, so it'll be nicer. But as far as the specs of the Switch, it's not changing. I believe that was what I had heard. So we'll see what happens there. I think Switch has dominated console sales in the last handful of years, and they haven't sort of incremented their hardware in the same way that Sony and Microsoft did. So I guess they don't have the same motivations that Sony and Microsoft have. And then there's the announcement from Netflix that they're getting into gaming. I'm not sure if you heard that. I don't know where that's going to go. I read just sort of briefly that they're going to be focused on mobile, which I don't know how that translates exactly to Netflix. They did some of those interactive shows.
I gotta imagine Black it's Mirror. Just something like like if it's mobile, it's gonna be just like the games that you can get on the App Store, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm curious about it. I haven't really thought much about it, but Apple has their arcade, which is the sort of game subscription service, right? Yeah. Like Xbox has their subscription game service where you get the portfolio of games and you can download them or you can stream them. And maybe it's a natural play for Netflix and they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I would be sad if Netflix just came out with a I don't know, like another game subscription service that wasn't in some way unique. And I don't know that people are expecting Netflix to blockbuster the gaming industry, I guess is the way to say it, like they did with streaming and video. But it would be refreshing if they did something of that nature. I don't know. I don't even know what it could be, but I'm hoping for something bigger than not.
I've had a big question mark over that headline for quite some time, just like thinking about what exactly that.
I've largely ignored it.
I was like, okay. Interesting. All right, well, I guess I'll wait for more information because I'm not going to get anything from any article that I read. It's literally the headline tells the whole story, but like then again, it's like, what?
It would have been better if they said nothing until they had something to say.
Right, exactly. So. Well, is that it?
I think that's it. That was a good session.
That was a good show, Kevin. Way to go, buddy.
We're both in space.
We're both in space. Well, hey, if you're listening to the show tonight, then thank you for finding us, looking us up, however you found the show. I'm super stoked to have recorded the night, and we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram.
You've been crushing it on the social media for One Up to Nerd. Thank you for keeping up with that and focusing on it.
I could do more. I think I'm my renewed glorious purpose. In the words of in the words of Richard E. Grant as the old Loki, glorious purpose.
Hey, I love that they did that.
I am fueled to kind of get back into the social media atmosphere and get One Up to Nerd kind of going and growing. I want to get. Let's do it, Kevin.
We're doing it. This is part of the experience. We got to do the thing to do the things.
We got to do the thing to do the thing. So thanks for watching, listening, however you found us. My name is Frankie.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're out. You didn't see it.
Saw it.
Goodbye.
58 minutes.